facing our lions or challenges of the week. What did you face this week that was challenging to you?
A good Thursday morning to you. Today is Think About Thursday, and as we do so, we will be talking about words of wisdom. What are words of wisdom, and how can they help us? Words of wisdom. When you think about words of wisdom, what exactly do you think about? And words of wisdom, if you had the opportunity to speak your words wise, what would you say? What would you say? What would you think about? Today's inspiration is whisper words of wisdom, let it be. It jumps out at me because words of wisdom are beneficial to the hearer. And when we speak about words of wisdom, what words could we really say? That's what we're going to talk about. People today are looking for wise words. I know for me, I go to the Bible for the wise words because I trust in that. But whether you believe in the Bible, no matter what background you're in, what is the wisest words that you have ever heard? Let's look into this, and when you're getting this, do me a favor. Let's get it and put it in our comments below. Let's do that because that's so important. We're going to have you take a look at some very wise words. Shall we? Words of wisdom. We are live. We're live. We're going to think about opportunities as you and I sit down together as a community, as a group, and as individuals. We're going to give you something to think about, as we always do in Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. We will be right back with our program.
Feel free to be interactive and tell us your stories. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Go give it a shot.
We're back. Today's podcast program is Wisest Words. Everybody everywhere looks for wise words. What words would you say? What words would you say? Trish, good morning.
Good morning.
For joining us. What is your wisest words that you would say today? You had the opportunity.
The wisest words I would say is, even though others aren't ready for the truth, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't say the truth.
Right. And that's interesting that you would say that. Thank you for that, because really when we think about our wisest words, they have truth in them. And I've always felt like when you have wise words, you're being truthful. Some people don't like your wise words. You know, sometimes we tend to cringe a little bit. Is there anybody out there that tends to cringe when someone speaks wise words to you? You start to feel as if your world has been torn apart. Because sometimes we can't handle wise words. How about you? We want you to make today's conversation, what we're going to talk about, is a way to think about your thoughts. Once you are cultivating your wise words, it's going to benefit you, the person who imparts the wise words, and your listener. The world is full of wisdom. Also, the wisdom, as Trish mentioned, have truth in them. That's what we want you to do, is think about your wise words. But how do you get there? You say, I really want to help other people. I really want to make an impact on other people. Today I am thankful for wisdom that I've received. Because all of us need that. And why do I say that? Because none of us know everything. We'd all like to think that we know everything. There's some of us who have the answer for everything. Then there are some of us who have the answer for anything. And then there's those who are humble enough to search for something to say. Now, if you're fitting into that category, what it involves is you to change something about yourself. We weren't here for Wednesday Wellness, but when we speak well into ourselves and well into others, we are searching for a wise journey. And in order to get on that journey, we must think about the words we want to use. Now, remember what I said. There are some of us who know everything, and then some of us that want an answer for anything, or want to just say anything because they believe that they're wise in their own eyes. And we know when a person is being wise in their own eyes, what begins to happen. So think about this. Or have you ever thought about this? Creating opportunities for you to be wise. To be wise. How many of you have ever done that? Anybody? Thinking of opportunities?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
How many of us have thought about opportunities to find wisdom? Because in order to find wisdom, you must go out. You must move into action to get it. How many of you are willing to do that?
I am.
Yeah. So we have to create opportunities. And there's always opportunities to find wisdom. When can you create an opportunity for wise words? Well, every day for me is an opportunity. While I'm in my ministry and while I'm talking to all of you. And that's a big plate to fill because we know that you're listening. By the way, thank you for listening to Olivia Newton-John's tribute. Had a lot of fun doing that. And I want to thank everyone who is listening. Today it will be on your international podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. How many of you are wise about never breaking your promises? Or how many of you have had a promise broken to you? Anybody?
I have, and I am wise about not breaking my promises. I'm strict on myself about that.
Yes. I would have to agree with you because I do not like when people tell me something that they're going to do and I don't expect it, but if you're not really meaning it, it isn't the wisest thing to do. But when you keep your promises, it is a wise thing to do. It makes you credible. People say that person is always keeping their promise. Have you ever been in life where you felt stuck? And are you in a life spot, this moment, where you're feeling stuck? There were times where I felt stuck, but I was only stuck with not knowing how to get out, how to do this. But once I learned how and what to do and when to do it, I no longer am stuck. Think about that as we come back. We'll be right back. Stay tuned for Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We'll be right back.
Facing the lions, facing the lions.
Did you know that you could ask Siri, Google, and Alexa where to find Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast? Go ahead. I dare you. Ask Siri and Alexa to find Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. We're back. When we left before, we talked about keeping your promises and the credibility that it bestows upon you. That makes you wise. And then we talked about feeling stuck. Sometimes in our lives, there are some of us that may feel stuck. You may be the one that feels that way. We want you to understand this, that you are not as stuck as you may think or believe you are. And I want you to realize as we speak on this Think About Thursday that your success is not final and your failures in life, we call them challenges, don't have to be fatal. Come a little closer. I said, in your lifetime, at present, you are not stuck as you think you are or believe you are. Any successes, any win-wins in life that you've had are not final. And always remember that your challenges that we talk about, which this whole podcast is based upon, it isn't fatal when you have to challenge yourself. The key word is to challenge yourself. Those are words of wisdom. You know, I think about people that have won the lottery because there are some winners out there. I'm not mad at you. I'm not here to judge you. But let me ask you something. Has that solved all of your problems? As you take an honest look. And we mean permanently. Success is not a bad thing. Everyone wants to be successful and everyone should be successful. But I want you to think deeply about these thoughts that it is not final. And every pain and every mistake, every joy, every sadness, every emotion hasn't been fatal. Sometimes we're scared to face our lions because why? We think that our emotions are going to kill us if we talk about them. But I want to say this to you. You aren't dead yet. Aha, which means that you're still living, you're still breathing. So as long as you carry breath and life within you, you never have to be as stuck as you feel the need to be. It's deep, doesn't it? Now, when we think about ourselves, because every program, every episode of our podcast helps us to just do that, think about ourselves. We may have others that we're thinking about, but the most help that you can give to anyone first is yourself. And then you can pour it on to others. Characterization, your character, who you are, who you think you are, who you will be, who you were. It's all about the mental attitude, your mental mindset, and how you're going to spend your lifetime while you are living and breathing. Your character, what habits have you developed as you intertwine them into your personal character? Think about that. Because not all habits are bad habits. And not every habit is a good habit. We're talking about you. Come a little closer. You, including myself, what is the result of my character? You know that person inside of me. How did I develop? What changes did I have to make? And I ask you the same. Something to think about on this Think About Thursday. How many of you are unhappy with yourselves? You know, a lot of that. For many of us, there have been times that we have been unhappy with ourselves. And I want to go back to the word stuck. As we think about the word stuck, I want to add something to this because this right here is very important. When you define the word stuck, when we talk about happiness being a choice, stuck. When you say, help, I'm stuck. Kids will say that, help me, I'm stuck. Now, the truth in the matter is that stuck is being that you are unable to move from a position or a place or unable to change a situation. Now, I ask you this question, is a word to the wise. Are you living and breathing? Because the only way that you could be stuck in a situation if there is no life in your breath. Aha, you say. I want everyone, whatever you're doing at this moment, to breathe in, which is inhaling. As you took a breath in, filled your lungs with air. That's called movement and action. Exhale. So you've let all of that air out. In order for you to feel the effect of the breath that you just filled your lungs with and exhaled that same air out, you've proven to yourself that you are alive. Which means that it is an impossibility for you to be stuck if you are living and breathing. Even the people that are on breathing machines know that there's possibility for them to live and breathe, even if they have to carry their oxygen tanks around. How many of you have saw that? And they don't say I'm stuck. They live their best life. If you've ever seen a person on an oxygen machine, they will never use the word stuck. And some of you will try to say, well, they can't change their situation. Yes, they know this. But you know what they do? They challenge their situation. What do we gain from seeing this? So now that you look at yourself and you say the word stuck, well, is it really so that you're unable to move from a position? Or are you unable to change a situation? So you're not stuck in feeling like you're doomed. You are a living, breathing person. And you have choices. How about that? You can be happy. You say, Miss Nisi, it's not that easy. You can be happy because happiness is all about the mindset. Happiness is all about the inner peace that you are feeling in this exact moment. A lot of people say, I'm never happy. I've actually had clients who have said that. I never feel happy. In 15 minutes into the conversation, I can get them to laugh. That's the first opportunity. A word to the wise. Be happy with who you are, no matter what life throws at you, what circumstances you are, you can find happiness in just about anything. You know, popcorn makes me happy. What makes you happy, Trish?
Spicy chips, they make me happy.
Yeah. Hearing the laughter of children makes me happy. What makes you happy, Trish?
Listening to church music, that makes me happy.
Finding your happiness. Even if you do have to say to think about it. Why? Because today is Think About Thursday. Be happy with who you are. You know, many people are trying to get on the journey to find happiness. If that means you and me, that we're on this journey, have we ever stopped to think or to the wise, hey, I can create it. Wow, imagine that. You know, we have a lot of creators. Trish creates music. I create photography. When I'm shooting podcasts, I have created this. We can actually go out and create it. Life doesn't always have to be everything and a bag of chips. No pun intended, Trish. Life can be happy when you decide that you want to make it happy. Some people have been in the worst situation and they're happy. Do you remember the man with the person with the oxygen mask? Ask him how he's feeling, and the reaction would be, I'm thankful, I'm grateful. Life has presented him or her with the oxygen mask, but they're happy to be alive. I once talked to a 90-year-old man who, instead of greeting me with, I'm old, I don't have many years to live, he would make me happy because he would say, happy to be alive. Well, got up. I got up and breathing. And that would make me think, now, if you're not at the age of 92, imagine the person who is 92 in your life and all the things that they've ever had to do in their life. And you look at them and their body is deteriorating. Their minds are as sharp as anybody living. And they're as sharp as a 4-year-old. You must appreciate that they have created living in their lives, because they've got a lot to tell us. Not only do they have a lot to tell us, they seek happiness. This man was happy to be alive. Well, I woke up this morning. Seek happiness. Create it in your living selves. So many of us wait for happiness when it's in our power to choose happiness. You aren't powerless. You aren't powerless. We'll be right back.
Cause we're called vibetalkfacingthelionpodcast. Go check your favorite streaming platforms. Feel free to be interactive and tell us your stories. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, YouTube, and there's so much more. Go give it a shot.
Did you know that Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast, after we're online, we have individual, group session, and one-on-one Get with Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast so that you can develop your one-on-one with your session. Personally, group, or individual. Vibe Talk. Get with us. We're back. How many of you find complaints? What was the last thing that you complained about? Last thing I complained about was traffic. Just yesterday. What was the last thing that you all complained about?
The last thing I complained about was my dad taking too long because I didn't want to be late to class.
Okay. And we all have different things we complain about, right? Nothing is wrong with complaining, but as you see your life and the people in your life, what if you didn't have them? You know, we think about people who complain constantly, and they have big complaints. And then they tell others about their complaints. Because you see, while Trish may have had a complaint about her dad, she didn't go out to school and tell the teacher, hey, my dad took too long. But there are people who will complain nonstop. It isn't as small as our complaints are. You know, I think about traffic. I have, and I'm not kidding, music for times when I'm going to be in traffic, so that easily distracts my mindset. I do something about that. But what if I didn't have a car to have to complain about being in the traffic? While there are planes, trains, and automobiles, I'm just thankful to have a car. Do you see the message in that complaint? How we can stop ourselves? Because we're going to complain. We are not perfect. But there are literally people that complain about everything. It doesn't stop at, oh, traffic. It doesn't stop at someone took too long. They complain about everything. When you call them, they're going to tell you and complain about what health problems they've had. They're going to complain to you about where it hurts. And that's every day. But if you want to be happy, you must stop that. You say, Miss Nisi, what is it that I need to stop? Complaining about your everyday life. If life isn't what you want it to be, make it into what you want to do in life. Come a little closer. If life isn't what you want it to be, make it into what you want to do about your life. We're talking about words of wisdom. And you all are wise. You all are wise. I don't think there's anybody who listens into Vibe Talk that I would say is unwise. You listen because you like this. it impacts you in some sort of way. And we're happy about that, aren't we, Trish?
Yep.
How many of us, and we ask this question a lot, word to the wise, ask for help? We're not afraid. We're not afraid to be judged. You ask for help when you need the help. But there are some people, word to the wise, that say, I don't need anyone's help. Do you know anybody like that?
Yes, that's me.
Yeah. I don't need anybody's help. Nobody even asked you if you needed help, but you're already saying, I don't need help. Well, we didn't ask you if you needed help because you've already told us by your frown. You walk around as if you're wearing a t-shirt that says, I don't want help, I don't need help, and don't you dare ask me for help because I don't ask for help. Yeah, that's our attitude. But you see, asking for help is a sign of strength. We've learned that in here. You don't have to be in your life alone. You don't have to. Word to the wise. You know, we all have had negative seasons in our lives. And the seasons are metaphoric for days, times, just things in our life. We have had negative thoughts. But again, I ask you, are you stuck? We heard earlier wisdom in finding out what does it mean when we feel stuck. Now that we've got the definition, can we do something about our negative thinking? Do we say we're stuck because I've always been this way? Well, we can be positive. And here's something that I think about. A positive mind is stronger than a negative thought. I'm going to say that one more time. A positive mind is stronger than a negative thought. You know, there's a song, Whatever Will Be, Will Be. It has those lyrics in it. And it continues to say, the future is not ours to see. So what does that mean, just that line alone, when you think about your situation? You say, whatever it is, I'll take that. And that's good. But now, do you accept it? With the idea that you can let go of whatever it was. See, because now we're talking about present when we accept it, and past when we let go of it. And you see, our future gives us hope. We're not in the future, but you can build your future. The Bible even talks about that, our future, helping us to see what our future will be like. There's still hope for those of you who don't read the Bible. You can have what is faith. Faith leads to hope. Foreseeing yourself. Like if I ask you the question, where would you like to be a year from now? Some people put it off and rephrase that question. Well, in 5 years, I will be here. If it takes you 5 years, that's okay. You're seeing yourself in the future. I want you to think about that. If you let go of the past, you will see new things in your future. Hit hard? It's meant to. We are going to be right back. Stay with us as we discuss a word of wisdom. We'll be right back. Did you know that Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast can be found and streamed over major platforms? Wherever you're listening to your favorite podcast, find Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We're back. How many of us have experienced anything in life? And if you'd like my questions, I'll keep them coming, because this podcast does not tell you what to do, but rather helps you to think about what you can do, what your options are. And I ask you this question again. How many of you have had experiences in life? Everyone listening, everyone in this virtual room, if you're here, has had an experience. And if I ask you, which I'm going to do right now, what was your experience? You see how I paused? Because we've all had so many experiences. And we're going to try it. My experience was going out and talking to the people to get them to say how they're feeling. That was my experience. Just last Saturday, I had that. Trish, what is your experience? You'll see where we're going with this in just one moment.
My experience was in public speaking yesterday. I had to present who I am as a person and where I'm from and why am I taking this class.
Nice. And I want each and every one of you to try that. Ask yourself the questions we're asking here, because we've all had experiences. You see, we can interchange with experiences, right? And no two are the same. They may be similar, but they're not the same. With your experience, you are mindful. Your mindful is in that your mindfulness is being able to broaden its horizons, because with the experiences you have every day, you will experience new experience. How'd you like that one? I said new experience. Every day that you are living, you will experience something new. And if you haven't gotten there yet, word to the wise, you need to think about it. Make room for new experiences. You know, people like old houses that they've lived in for many years. And for some unknown reasons, people have had to move out of the houses that they have lived in for a long time. And the first thing they say is, oh, all the memories we've experienced in this house. I'm going to really miss this house. They know the house because they've lived there so long. They know it with their eyes closed. And when it's time to move on, they say, oh, we have so many stories in this house. But don't fret about it. Don't be afraid of what's coming that's new, because guess what? In your new house, you're going to experience new things. You see, your experience is what causes you to make new mistakes. Simply put, every experience comes with new mistakes. See, we rehash old ones that we've made. How many of you are still doing that? You say, but I made a mistake, or I'm scared to make a mistake. Word to the wise, as long as you are living and breathing, you will continue to make mistakes. So stop holding on to the old mistakes. If you've learned from them, there's no need to rehash it. You can make it a story, how others learn from it, but don't keep beating yourself up because you need to make room for the new mistakes. That's called mindfulness. Others of us believe that we know everything. Do you know people like that, Trish? People that just know everything. So they think.
Yes, I know people like that.
And they leave no room for being willing to learn something. They know everything, but they're not willing to learn something. Because why? No one can help them. I want to tell you something. I'm a learner, and I never want to come off as if I know everything. Everything that I've talked to you guys about as a wellness coach, I have researched. I read. I bring it to you. Something that I think would really help all of us, not just you, but myself as well. I'm willing to do that for you all. I'm willing to learn. Even in my years of teaching young people, the very young minds, if they weren't willing to learn, I always presented a situation where I know they would learn. Even if they didn't raise their hand, I was the educator in the very young minds that would get them involved. And the more I did that, the more determined they were to learn. They began to see it in their own eyes how fun it was to learn. Do you like learning? I'm going to ask you again. I say to you this day, do you like learning? Are you willing to learn something? Are you willing to say and commit to no one can stop me from learning because I don't know everything? I say to myself. See, people want to appear as if they're smarter than you. You got some of those in your life, some of those in your classes, your work, your school, and you say, gosh, that person knows everything. That person gets on my nerve. They know everything. Got an answer for everything. Well, here's the truth. Word to the wise. Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to challenge yourself to gain more than you already think you know? Something to think about, isn't it? Another word of wisdom is if you're confident, and we're not talking about overly confident, we're talking about just a little confident. You know the story about the train that could. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. See, that was mustering up courage and confidence. case you all didn't know that when you were read that story or when you're reading it to your children or the young minds, encouraging you to have confidence that you can do anything that you put your heart into. I found it reassuring as a young child. My mother was very strong about instilling in me that I could do whatever I wanted to do. And if you have been fortunate enough to have a parent like that, you have confidence. My mother never told me I couldn't do it or that I wouldn't do it. And it's not very often that I tell people this, but since we're on the subject, I want to tell you something because we're on a wider scale now. I was born with what is a challenge. Don't say disability, but I was born with what is a challenge, with no fingers on my right hand. And I'm very grateful to my mother for teaching me. Not only do I think I can, but I will. Because had it not been for her, I would not be where I am today. I remember times when I was the littlest girl, because I'm the youngest in my family. My mother would have talks with me. My mother would spend endless time helping me to tie my shoe, instilling in me that just because I was faced with this challenge doesn't mean I can't. So I know how to tie my shoes, button my clothes, drive a car. I am so very grateful to my mom right now. Because you see, had she not instilled that in me, I would not be going through the life of challenges, going up the trails of the journey in my life, believing that I know I can, I know I can, I know I can. You see how we changed that from think you can to know you can? I'm very grateful for that. So, what can you take home from my experience? That you can. You can do anything if you really want to. You know, people are awed at the fact that I drive a car. I comb my hair. I've had relationships. I find that strange, but I'll accept it because a word to the wise is that what you learn is that people can be an inspiration because there are others who are an inspiration to me. There was a blind man that just like you and I goes shopping. He waits for his ride. Every time I saw that man, I gained a little bit more confidence. I gained a little bit more inspiration. Word to the wise. We are a podcast that help people help themselves. We're going to be right back to talk about that. Stay right where you are.
Feel free to be interactive and tell us your stories. YouTube and it's the last one. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Go give it a shot.
Did you know that Vibe Talk has a YouTube channel? Go check out our YouTube channel. Go on. Subscribe now at Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast on YouTube. We're back. Our podcast is all about helping you to help yourself. We are not the type of podcast, and I love podcasts like that. We made our podcast all about people sharing their thoughts because people will want you to figure things out for them and do nothing about what you've just said. So we allow you to have your own brain. Now that's not to say that any podcast out there is teaching you that you got to do everything by yourself, because we know that there are people who need help. But here's where we differ. We want you, as you are a fixer, to become the person first off to learn the tools to help fix yourself. Because some of us are fixers, while others of us are enablers. Some of us fix the problem. We say, here, let me help you. Even when I'm not even wearing the t-shirt, I don't need help. You figure out, oh, they must need help. So we fix people. And then some of us allow the broken to be in our life, and we enable them. I used to be a person that fixed things when I couldn't even fix myself. Because you see, the value that I placed on myself was lower than the value that I had on the people that I knew that needed help. The irony in that is that they were coming to me when I couldn't help myself. And then there are others who I have been an enabler to. People that have chemical dependency. I've enabled them by nurturing them. Yes, they need nurturing, but they also need to get to the root of what's ailing them, what's making them feel broken. So I became the fixer and the enabler. But this podcast, as I studied for certification, as I got educated while teaching childhood education, you know what I figured out? Let them figure it out for themselves. Give them a chance to do it. Don't always feed them the answers. They're not learning that way. I want to give you a chance to learn all about you. A word to the wise. Words of wisdom. We want you also to be careful with comparing your life to other people's lives. How many of you are still doing that? You look over there and you say, wow, Shante has the perfect life. I wish mine were. And then you start comparing yourself. Wow, Mr. Jones just got a brand new car. Nothing's wrong with your car, but Mr. Jones got a car, and you say, I'm going to get a car just like Mr. Jones. You say, hey, they got a new car. You know it. They pull up in the driveway. And every change they do, they get a new car. You go out and you get a new car because Mr. Jones got a new car. So pretty soon, the whole neighborhood What is that called? You've guessed it. Keeping up with the Joneses. You find your life like that. Because really in the inside of you don't live in Mr. Jones's house and you don't know if his car was about to break down and he needed to go get a new car. Here, there's nothing wrong with your car, but you need to keep up with Mr. Jones because he got a new car, the latest, the greatest, the best ever, ever, ever. Stop doing that. What do I mean? Oh no, I didn't say don't go get a new car. I said stop keeping up with the Joneses because you don't know how the Joneses really live. Because after all, you just see the outside. What's the moral of the story? Every house has a story. And just because the house is well kept on the outside, you know not the brokenness of the inside. Remember that. We all make mistakes. We've discovered that. And if you haven't, welcome to today's program. Word to the wise and words of wisdom. We all make mistakes. I find it hardest when people don't admit their mistake. It's as if the word mistake is a tabooed word. It's like, oh, don't say that. Don't say what? Mistake. As if we're afraid. If we are afraid to make mistakes, how will we learn from our mistakes if we haven't made one yet? Think about that on this Think About Thursday. And when you don't admit your mistake, how likely is it that you will repeat the mistake? You see, a lot of people will admit their mistake. They say, oh, you made a mistake, and we do. And then years down the line, we're repeating the same mistakes 1, 2, 5, 10. See, after the second time, it can no longer be the mistake if you're repeating them. How many of you get that? As we go into being truthful with ourselves. See, Vibe Talk helps you to do just that. Oh, by the way, are you finding it hard to treat yourself with forgiveness? We hear a lot about forgiving others, and that's a really big thing in people's lives, to forgive others. Let me stop you dead in your tracks. Come closer. How you doing with forgiving yourself? Because the truth of the matter is you cannot forgive others if you don't forgive yourself. Don't be fooled by saying, well, I do forgive myself. The last time you made the mistake, or the last time someone helped you to notice the mistake you made, rather being critical, cruel, or dishonest, have you forgiven yourself for that? See, because we walk around and we say we forgive ourselves. And we're learning to forgive others. You cannot jump to that until you have forgiven yourself wholly and completely. And when I say wholly, that is the word whole, W-H-O-L-E. You forgive some parts of yourself. There are people that didn't know any better, that have done things. People that have had abortions, people that have had car accidents, driving while they were drunk. people that have even killed people by accident. I'm asking you, have you forgiven yourself? Because you can't forgive others until you take that step. It's impossible to believe that. And we want you to turn that word impossible into what? I'm possible. Because we go around and we preach and we talk about forgiving others when we haven't even forgiven ourselves. When we start to do that and recognize that we've had a mistake, we've done a mistake, we can create for ourselves signs of forgiveness that we're allowed, we give ourselves permission to make mistakes. Because I don't think that anyone goes out intentionally and hurts another person. Not the sane people, not the know better people, but yet you walk around not forgiving yourself. And you say, let me forgive others because it is what God says to do, and we know that that is the right thing to do. Why are you having so much trouble forgiving yourself? What bad, unforgivable thing have you done that you can't even know that you must learn to forgive yourself? Welcome to the human race. Here we say challenge. There's no failing. We challenge ourselves each and every day. To do what? What do you think we challenge ourselves to do, Trish?
To try again, to keep going.
Yeah, challenging every day. Keep going, just like the little train that could. Keep going. Muster up the strength. Move forward. Let's do that. Let's learn those lessons of what it was like to climb that mountain of challenge. You are not a failure. For without those challenges, you wouldn't be the person that you are at this very moment. Back to forgiveness, but we're going to talk about making it amends. I want you to think about how many people that have never apologized to you. Today, I want you to think about the people who haven't apologized to you. I want you to make a list and call it, these are the people that have wronged me in my life. Because I knew you got some. Many of you were afraid to even test the waters to make that list. Because you said, oh, I don't want anybody to know that I don't. But I want to tell you something. When you make that list, I want you to one time look it over, and then I want you to dispose of it. Because you see, word to the wise. All the people that you just made the list that need to apologize or that have wronged you, you may never get that apology. You can dispose of that list once you make it, but you can also keep the list to say, I forgive the people that have wronged me. Hit hard, it was meant to. You know, we build our lives around others, families, friends, uh, spiritual friends, spiritual things. But now I want you to think about being able to define your life. What is your life? I see a lot of parents live their life through their kids. Why? Because they never made their own life because they've always had kids in their lives. And you can love your kids, but when you try to make them be what you want them to be instead of what their life is, because they can have a quality life, Can you be independent from that? You see, what my mother was doing for me is making sure that my life was going to be well. And parents make many mistakes, I know, because I'm a parent, and I'll ask any parents out there, mistakes, so many that you can't even keep up. And that's good, because you're not meant to keep it up. It's meant to make you think. But I want you to think about your life. Do you have your own life as opposed to your adult children? Because some of you parents will get involved in your children's lives as if it were your life. You don't know how to control that button, so you start to tell your grown kid what they should and should not be doing. How do I know? Because I was there. We've had our time we've spent with our adult children. We will have time to connect with them. We cannot tell them how to live. We want them to have their own life. Some of us pray, please, 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 please. While you're praying as a young person, God, I can't wait. God, I can't wait till I'm 18. You parents have heard those famous last words while you're in the other room and you pray, God, please let them get 18 to get out. But in the meantime, have you prepared your own life? Are you still saying, I prayed God for them to get out? Have you prepared your own life? Have you been the one to build your own life aside from your young person? Because many of you parents believe for some reason that your children are going to live with you forever. I heard my mom say this one time about me. She thought I was going to live with her forever. I haven't lived with my mother for years. Now, I may have had to come home a time or two, maybe three, but it wasn't there to live. It was there to be mindful of what my next step would be. I remember my mother telling me these words. I called myself leaving home. At the time, I was married in a committed relationship, and I called myself leaving my husband. My mother said to me, you married him. You must go and decide what you're going to do. You're always welcome home. Well, my mother gave me something to think about. And until this day, I've thought about it. Because you see, I hadn't been home for a while. But now, we go back to mom, not realizing mom has made her own life. Mom will make her own life. Mom was saying, I prayed for you to get this age so you could be independent. And now here you are back. We will return to our parents. But parents, may I caution you, if there is ever a time that your child needs you, and believe me, there will be times that we pray that they get well enough to stand on their own 2 feet. Stop trying to live their lives. That's what I learned from my mother. Know-it-alls. We'll be right back with that. Know-it-alls. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. I promise. We're coming back.
Facing the lions, facing the lions.
We are back. You think you know everything? How many of you don't have the answer to everything. I don't.
I don't.
I don't. So if you don't have the answer to everything, here is the problem. Here's the, or not, it's not a problem. Let me change that. Here's the challenge. If you don't have the words to know everything or the answers to know anything, simply don't speak. We all have to have the challenge of not speaking. Isn't that challenging? Sometimes I have to make myself be quiet. I'm literally in my mind saying, don't speak. I did this a couple days ago. Don't speak. Let them speak. I literally challenge myself because I don't know the answer to everything. You want to talk about one final thing? Thinking before you speak. We want you to think before you speak. I've had to challenge myself because sometimes, because I am straightforward, I just say it. But you know, Vibe Talk has taught me to listen twice as much as I'm going to talk. It has helped me to think about. That's why we have Think About Thursday. We never say anything, or never should we say anything that doesn't improve our being silent. Think about that. Think before you speak. We're here for you, and we let that be known. Trish, we're going to be right back with Trish's treasures that truly are words to the wise. We'll be right back.
Feel free to be interactive and tell us your story. Apple Music, YouTube, and so much more. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Go give it a shot.
We're back. Speaking words of wisdom is today's Think About Thursday. I'm going to turn it over to Trish and Trish's treasures.
Many times I have ignored my wisdom for people that I love because I don't want to see the reality of how they impact me, how they affect me, and how certain situations can tamper with my character as a person. And when I look at it, it's very unhealthy and very selfish towards myself to allow others to have some sort of control over my emotions and have some sort of stop sign in the road of my wisdom and what I know and what I'm aware of. And wisdom is a gift that all of us have from every experience that you've had. There are some things that you know that I don't, and there's some things that I know that you don't. And it doesn't matter I've been more experienced than you, I know more than you. It's not about being a know-it-all. What makes you a wise person is you use what you know. And I've been challenging myself to use what I know when I get into relationships. with friends or family members that I never met before. I use my wisdom to see how much toxicity from them, how much drama I can take in from them, and I pace myself and say, this is enough. It's not good for me. And with positive things, I have to practice the wisdom of saying, I feel negative today, but instead of feeding the negativity, you can feed your negativity. Trust and believe. If you feel negative, you can listen to negative music because it matches your mood. But we have the ability to change that by turning on your positive playlist and listening to positive affirmations. If you have sleepless nights, don't go to sleep with negative things in your mind. I always turn on relaxing music, positive affirmative music that helps me relax and rechannel and recharge, and so I can go to sleep and wake up in a better mood. Do things that protect your house of your mindset, and be wise. Always use your wisdom. Don't dismiss it. It is something special to have as a human being.
Thank you so much for that. As a wrap up, we want you to be kind to yourself. We want you to speak compassion unto yourself, into yourself, as a living, breathing human being. As you stand there living and breathing, let's be wise enough to say to ourselves this. Instead of saying, what was I thinking? Let's start asking ourselves, what was I learning? Word to the wise on this Think About Thursday. Our last question for the day is, what did you learn and discover in this podcast today? And how does it make you feel? You have the opportunity to answer on various platforms. Tell us what you're thinking. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Trish, I ask you question of the day.
What I learned is wisdom isn't just about having intelligence. It's about using what I've learned into action in the situation that's also convenient and not holding back my wisdom. And my experience here today was enlightening because wisdom is a very important thing to have, and it's like a tool that you use in your toolbox. Wisdom is very important to have. So today's experience, it made me feel enlightened.
I appreciate that. I know, because I am a spiritual person, that wisdom from above is God's ultimate wisdom, Jehovah God's ultimate wisdom. Nothing takes the place of that. Along my life, I realized too that wisdom is all about experience. You learn wisdom by challenging yourself. When you know God's wisdom, you learn a lot about yourself in comparison to that divine one. But for those who are not spiritual, I want you to understand that we are not here to judge you. We just simply want to reach out, reach up to you. We want you to remember that you are in your own driver's seat. You will be influenced. You will also fear things. Nevertheless, it is not a good thing to fear yourself. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to be able to ask yourself, what did I learn? Because we're asking you that question every day. Today's Vibe Talk question, Trish, if you could put that up, is what wise, what is, what are some wise words that you've received from other people or that you've given to other people? We are talking about wisdom today. In learning all of this, I have discovered that it is okay to let other people help you to be wise. While you are in your own human house, your body, you control how wise you're going to be. You will be challenged. You will be driven to more experience, open to more experience in your life, and you will have accomplished confidence. Just remember that. We thank you for being with us. Those of you who took the time, those of you who will listen, we thank you. We honor all of you, especially do we honor those who are struggling with mental and emotional difficulty. September is Suicide Prevention Month. We hope that you'll listen. Be aware that we are in progress of doing a virtual group session. That means that it costs you no money to join. All you have to do is find us right here. We're also looking for a building in person to meet with you all and virtually. And this is for my town, Los Angeles, Palmdale, Antelope Valley area. If you hear this podcast, please pass it on. I want to say thank you to you, Trish, for joining me this morning on Think About Thursday. Are there any more comments that you'd like to make?
No, just continue to be wise and use your wisdom.
What was that? Because you're going in and out.
I said continue to be wise and use your wisdom.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us. Join us in our next podcast. You'll have to be here to find out what it is. And don't forget to make this part of your conversation. If you're hearing us, you can go right to our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and join us there. Saturday nights, don't forget about our Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast after dark. We thank you for joining us, and we wish you more to think about on this Thursday forevermore.
Just to make a resolution, I want you to think about I was really about to move and then I got the vibe with it. I really took the time with it. I really love the ride with it. Yeah, really got the vibe with it. I took the time with it. I really love the ride with it. You can really see it really you when you get the vibe with it. Yeah, when you get the vibe with it. Just say something. It's a commitment.